From Wish TV, All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Now, from Wish TV, your local news source, this is All Indiana Politics.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics. I'm Phil Sanchez. We conclude our series on Indiana's mayor's races this morning with the biggest one of them all. Joe Hogsett is running for a third term as mayor of Indianapolis. If he wins and finishes that term, he would be the second longest serving mayor in the city's history. Hogsett faces Republican Jefferson Shreve. Shreve is the founder and CEO of Storage Express, and a former member of the City County Council. Both men have raised millions of dollars in this year's election. Our government reporter, Garrett Berquist, sat down with Shreve recently.
Joining us now is Indianapolis mayoral candidate Jefferson Shreve. Jefferson, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me back.
So let's begin with public safety. You've made that the central focus of your campaign. You've said you want to focus as much or more on officer retention compared to officer recruiting. How would you go about doing that?
More on retention than recruitment, because that is contrary to the path that the current administration has taken. Joe Hogsett has put a lot of money and attention behind the recruitment classes, but the results haven't proven out over time. We still have more officers leaving the force year over year than we have had since he started the job. We're down 129 officers from when he took office on January 1st, 2016. We need more police. So we've got to retain the talent that we've got and then backfill that talent with new officers that can be attracted to this community. We are paying more, but as we have raised those starting salaries, that compression of compensation, veteran officers to new recruits, has disenchanted, has angered even the veteran officers on the force.
Your public safety plan includes a ban on any new sales of military-style rifles. It includes getting rid of permitless carry within the confines of Marion County and raising the age to purchase a firearm in Marion County to age 21. You've caught a lot of criticism from conservatives on this. What do you say to them?
I want to support our police force. I want to listen to the leadership, IMPD and ISP, who have testified in favor of elements such as the retention and now reinstatement of permitting requirements for the concealed carry of weapons. It's a tool that we took away from them. It's a tool that they had for the last 60 years. It makes their work more dangerous. It's harder to do their job if we take a tool like permitting requirements away from them.
Let's turn to economic development. You've talked about making Indianapolis the hub of a research and technology corridor coming down from Purdue and a life sciences corridor coming up from IU. How do you plan to do that?
We will have two Research One universities distinct on the near west side of our city that will amplify their investment in technology and, by extension, technology transfer. That can be a huge driver for the economy of Indianapolis over the next 20 years. If we look at where we stack up against some of our peer communities, I would say and point to Columbus, Ohio. They were smaller than we were population-wise. Their GDP was lower than ours was just a decade ago. Their secret sauce has been Ohio State University. Okay, so we now have the opportunity to amplify two Research One universities right downtown with differentiated missions. And to amplify that, we can take what we've invested on 16 Tech and work from that angle to on the technology transfer piece to create new opportunities, new jobs, new companies that will in turn repopulate some of our downtown.
What's in this for people who live in Marion County who don't work in the STEM fields?
Well, I think a strong Marion County is good for people whether they work in the trades industry, if they're in the hospitality industry. I think that vibrancy, people that live, work, and play downtown lift us all up. And so you may be a researcher or you may be working in parks maintenance along the White River. But what's in it for others that aren't directly in that space? Oh, there's something in it for everyone. Our system is hardwired to be supported by those that choose to lay their heads in Marion County. What's
your plan for improving the supply of affordable housing?
So that on the surface is pretty simple. It's supply and demand. We have suffered through a cycle of 8% rent rate growth for the last couple of years because the supply has not kept up with demand. We've got to remove some of the barriers of red tape and some of the uncertainty that the developer investment community faces when they take a project through DMD and our Department of Business and Neighborhood Services. We've got to open up the throttle so developers can create new and better affordable housing stock to meet the demand. And as supply comes into parity with demand, we will see rates tighten up. That growth that we have suffered from, which exceeds household income growth, will come back into alignment.
What's your plan for dealing with food deserts? We've got quite a few areas where there's no easy access to healthy, fresh food.
Yeah, retail patterns have changed. The Amazon effect is a factor, certainly. But we need to repurpose a lot of the dead retail space that we do have. And I'm particularly interested in opportunities to repurpose the empty CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid stores that we have all around this county because they are oftentimes located in the center of those areas that we would describe as food or pharmacy deserts. I'd like to have a systematized, predictable set of incentives to take the private owners of those properties to bring in grocers that would set up shop in these bite-sized retail components. These are roughly 14,000 square feet.
All right, coming up, we hear from Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett. And welcome back. We now turn to Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett. Hogsett's campaign turned down our request for a one-on-one interview. He did, however, take part in Wish TV's live televised mayoral debate on Monday night. And here's some of what he had to say.
Well, I certainly believe that downtown is the safest neighborhood in all of Indianapolis. Statistics and data show that to be the case. We try to desperately make all of our neighborhoods as safe, but we have a safe downtown, and generally speaking, we have a safe city. Now, the truth is we have a problem with guns, and everybody has guns. The permitless carry that was passed by the Indiana General Assembly has been particularly difficult for the city of Indianapolis. There are more guns in our city than there are people. And until and unless we start meaningfully addressing those issues, we're going to continue to have unfortunate incidents of gun violence. And gun violence brings with it perception problems. And that's why we need to change the direction and make a real difference in the gun availability of guns. Well, the truth is, over the last 8 years, we have hired over 700 officers. In fact, 45% of IMPD officers who are working for IMPD today were hired by my administration. I'm proud of that. Now, while it would be great to have additional officers, and that's the efforts that we are making, when Jefferson mentions that we're 300 officers below where we'd like to be, what he doesn't mention is we're 300 officers that I authorized and fully funded. These are positions that wouldn't be there but for me. And the truth is also, in Jefferson's time on the council, Mayor Ballard went 2 years without hiring a single officer. One of those years, Jefferson was on the council and voted for his budget, hiring no officers at all. Housing is such a critical issue, you can't have enough of it. That's why this administration has been very proactive in terms of providing more affordable housing for more people throughout the state. Now, as far as out-of-state landlords, frankly, we have a good track record and a cooperative record with working with the Attorney General and citizens in apartment complexes throughout the state, holding out-of-state landlords who have pocketed monies that they have no business pocketing and not paying their water bills. We held them accountable, and I'm very grateful for that success. So at the end of the day, we've also been responsible for a one-time property tax credit for 90% of homeowners to keep them in their homes, and the anti-displacement pilot project going on over in the Riverside Park area. I'm proud of that, too. Food deserts are very, very concerning where they exist, and that's why this administration has been, I think, nimble and creative. It's one thing to say, well, let's just answer the question by more bricks and mortar. That's just not realistic. Sure, adding a grocery store or a supermarket where it can be financially successful ought to be included. I was very proud to, very early in my first term, to help open up Cleo's Bodega. And by the way, the investment that Cook Medical has made out on East 38th Street, where there's now a food access. But we've been nimble in the administration by providing, for example, the Compass app, where people can go online and figure out where their closest food access is, or our Lyft program, where you can get for $1 a ride to and from a supermarket. That's the kind of creativity that will help us address this systemic issue. One of the most important things that we need to keep in mind is the world has changed, and the 5-day work week with commuters coming in from around probably will never return to its pre-pandemic existence. But here's the good news: 25,000 new residents have now called downtown home. The Downtown Resiliency Strategy was launched by Downtown Indy as the result of $3.5 million that the city gave it. So our recovery is going to be, and by the way, it's important to underscore that the city was a leader in encouraging people to return to work downtown. And I am sure that that is now going to be continuing, and it's that kind of leadership that will encourage people to return downtown. Residential and work experience, that's what's going to revive our city. I'm proud that in the last several years during the Hogshead administration, we have increased our funding for mental health and mental health access and mental health care by 3 times. We are the administration that has offered for our community the first time the clinician-led response teams. And that started the 1st of July. It now operates in downtown. It will be scaling up to East District in short order. And I think that's something the community asked for, that we have been able to fund and provide. And then finally, our Assessment and Intervention Center at the Community Justice Campus is an incredible asset to mental health. And that's why in next year's budget, we'll be increasing from 30 to 60 beds at the Assessment and Intervention Center. That will be profoundly important as well.
All right, coming up, Indiana's best political team takes stock of the debate, and an Indiana congressman's no vote on a resolution supporting Israel. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics, as we welcome in 2 members of All Indiana's best political team, Democrat Ariel Brandy and Republican Whitley Yates. Good to see you both. Thank you for joining us. Let's start with the mayor's debate that we had earlier last week, I should say. So we'll start with you this week, Ariel. What does Joe Hogsett need to do in order to win his 3rd term?
I think Joe just needs to keep going at the pace he's been going. I think that There were also some things I will say that I have heard, all the way from my northern Indiana space at the top of the state, that have been concerns for a very long time. But I think that with Joe, we have made so much progress in being able to not only openly talk about the issues that have been happening in Indianapolis, but him being receptive of them and being able to want to make that progress to make our city in Indianapolis better. So I'm really just hoping that Joe's victorious on election day and he keeps getting that support that he's been getting from the voters in Indianapolis. And I'm excited to be rooting for him up in South Bend, Indiana, and being able to support him all the way from the northern part of the state.
Whitley, your thoughts on the debate and what Jefferson Shreve needs to do in order to win?
Yeah, I think Jefferson Shreve needs to continue honing in on this message that Hogsett has been a lackluster leader, that the city has not gone in the right direction, specifically when it comes to crime. He's euthanizing healthy dogs. We still don't know where he was during the riots, and he hasn't shown up and been the type of mayor that he has promised to be. And 8 years is a long time for him to still say that he's frustrated with some of the things that he had promised to get done. Where is our animal shelter? We don't know. And so when we're looking at what he said he wanted to do versus what he's done, we're still left wanting more. And that's not the type of leadership Indianapolis needs.
Ariel, you want to respond?
Yeah, I think that we have been able to also see a lot of growth within Indianapolis. And I think that we can continue to capitalize upon the growth that we're seeing in Indy. But also, too, I think the most important thing for both candidates is being able to center the Black voices that have been calling out about all of the things that have been happening on both sides of the aisle, specifically in Indianapolis, and being able to make sure that we're meeting the needs of those that are marginalized and have been sounding the alarm for a while. So I will say that that's something that I have recognized, and that I know that the residents of Indianapolis are really hoping that either candidate, regardless of who wins, will center their voices at some point in time and make sure that it's a priority.
Whitley, about 30 seconds to you on this one, and then we got to move on.
Yeah, I would definitely say that we have seen growth under Mayor Hogsett. We've seen a growing number of homicides in Indianapolis, specifically impacting the Black community, disproportionately impacting the Black community. And I don't think that that's the type of growth that we need. I do agree with Ariel that underrepresented and marginalized voices should be amplified, should be listened to. And we need a mayor that's going to not only say that they're going to do it, but actually get the work done.
Let's turn to national politics now, ladies. The House finally has a speaker, Mike Johnson of Louisiana. So, Whitley, I want to turn to you on this one. The past few weeks hasn't been good publicly for the Republican Party. Are you concerned about the reputation now of the Republican Party in light of all of this?
No, I'm not concerned at all. I'm going to be honest. The Republican Party is really big on individualism. And so when it comes to dissenting and not agreeing, which we've seen even here in Indiana at the State House with Republicans disagreeing, it's something that happens. But when it's time to get to work, as the time is now, and making sure that we're making decisions that are going to better all Americans, picking a speaker was prime on that list. So I'm glad that they were able to do it. And I'm waiting to see how Mike Johnson fares with being able to be the type of leader needed in this role.
Ariel, Mike Johnson, as you very well know, extremely conservative, especially when it comes to social issues. So how do you foresee this playing out going forward?
I foresee it playing out how it has here in Indiana, unfortunately. We are seeing the exact same playbook that's happening in Washington, happening right here in our home state, where we're continuing to roll back the rights for the marginalized communities here in our state and not really thinking very much forward on how we need to make sure our state is a place where all people feel welcome. And for that to now be who we have representing us at the Speaker of the House, that's pretty troubling, but also too, just the things that we've heard about the background of our now speaker. I think they are concerning, and we should be thinking about how that's going to impact us on a national level and how that kind of rhetoric will trickle down in state.
All right, ladies, I have a little bit more than a minute left. I want to get your thoughts on this in regards to Hamas and Israel, the war raging on. Congressman Andre Carson was one of 10 no votes on a resolution condemning Hamas and expressing support for further assistance to Israel. About a minute left. Ariel, 30 seconds to you on this. Your thoughts.
Yeah, Congressman Carson always stepping up and being a leader for our state, thinking of the people first and foremost. And I think that that's something that we need to center right now. And I think, one, this is a conversation that is hard for all people to be able to have, but I think it's also an opportunity for us to realize that as humanity, we need to start thinking about how we center ourselves as humans and start thinking about what peace looks like and making sure that we are uplifting the voices of those that have been talking about these issues for a very long time. So Congressman Carson, continue to be a leader.
Whitley, 30 seconds to you. Close us out.
Congress doesn't agree on 98% of anything, and 98% of them agreed on this resolution. And so I'm disappointed, to say the least, that he didn't sign it. I feel like this was an opportunity to be able to stand against terrorists and people who have done terroristic behavior, specifically to Israel. I will see how his leadership fares over the course of the rest of the year.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. Ladies, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll be right back. And thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics. Join us at 3 o'clock this afternoon for an encore presentation of our debate with the candidates for mayor of Indianapolis. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30 for a final preview of next week's municipal elections. Have a great rest of your weekend.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.